Hi, it's Carol from readinggroupguides.com, and I'm here to share what you're going to see on the site in December. We know that December is kind of a quiet month for a lot of book groups. A lot of you do something different this month simply because it's a nice way to get together with the group and celebrate, and also with schedules being so crazy, trying to do something that's a little bit different. One of my groups is not meeting at all this month. We couldn't come up with a date that everyone was actually free. The other group is going to watch Where'd You Go, Benedict, and go out to dinner and talk about the movie, which is kind of a fun thing to be doing. A lot of groups are doing charity events, bringing book donations, either that or doing kinds of round robin gift ideas. We've got a lot of ideas that have been shared by our readers in a blog piece that we'll link to down in the show notes down below. So what is on the site this month? First up, we're continuing our contest. We're in digital copies. It's got a code on the back of it, and what you're going to be doing is able to download this right to whatever device that you listen to music on or you listen to podcasts on. You'll be able to go in and listen to the audiobook. You have the opportunity, we're going to give 50 groups the opportunity to win enough audiobooks for their entire group. So A Good Neighborhood by Therese and Fowler. I love this book. It's going to be coming out on March 10th. They moved the publication date of it back, so we're extending our contest. You can enter until January 2nd at 12 noon. So enter to win copies for your group. Next, we've got House on Fire by Kistler. This book was one of my bets on selections when it came out back in March, and it's now out in paperback, which is what the groups will be winning. All you have to do is tell us what your book club is reading this month, not just give us the title of this book unless this book is the one you're reading. Tell us what your book group is reading this month, and you will be entered to win copies of this book for your book group. We'll be giving away 3 groups. We'll win 12 books. It's our usual contest for our What's Your Book Group Reading. I love this book by Bonnie. It takes a look at two families that are blended together. These two couples have previously been divorced, and now they're together. And one day they are away on a vacation, and they've left their teenage children home alone. One of them is 17, on the cusp of turning 18. The other one is 12 and 13, and they're alone for the weekend, and everything should be fine. But all of a sudden they get a call that there's been a terrible car accident, and they're rushing back home. And when they get home, the younger girl who was with her brother in this car accident has passed away. So now what is happening in these blended families there's guilt. Who was driving the car that night? What was happening? How did the car end up off the road? And it becomes this legal battle, which includes his birthday was the day that this accident happened. Was he of legal age? Was he still a minor? What was happening at the time of this girl's death and the time of this accident? It's an absolutely riveting story that looks at the law. It looks at people's lives. Bonnie is a lawyer, though she did not practice family law. She has great insights into how complex this issue can be. So you've got these two people who are totally in love with each other, who have married and blended these families together. And what is happening to the other children in these families? What is the whole experience for everybody at this point? Real domestic drama that's looked at in like a 360 kind of view that'll definitely spark great conversation. Also, we've got our guide for The Wicked Redhead by Beatriz Williams. This is a sequel to The Wicked City that she wrote a couple of years ago. Beatriz is a ton of fun. We recently did an interview with her for one of our Book Reporter Talks to interviews that I highly recommend you're taking a listen to. So we've got this to add to the site this month. Then we've got a special contest where I have selected 6 books that I'm absolutely crazy about that are coming out in the beginning of next year. And we're going to give you the opportunity to win these books. One person is going to win all 6. And this is how the game is going to be played on this. We want you to log on and tell us what you think was your favorite book of the year that you read personally and your favorite that you read with your book club. And we know it could be the same book. But instead of us doing one of those best of lists that are all over the place, we want to hear from you. And we want you to be sharing what you think were the best books of the year. So we'll compile that and get it up in February. So you've got December and January to enter. We know December is really crazy, especially this year with a really compressed holiday season. So you've got until the beginning of February to give us your entries into this contest. And then we'll compile a complete list and share it with you in February of what we see were the best from our readers this year. So what are you going to win? Well, Marie Benedict's been a favorite of mine for years, and her new book is Lady Clementine. And who is Clementine? She is the wife of Winston Churchill. So what was her life like? World War I, World War II, living with Winston Churchill when all these big decisions were being made in Parliament, what was happening in London and in Europe during that time. So we're looking at through her eyes, as Marie often always does, is looking at the women that stand beside the men, not behind the men, the women that stand beside them. Next, in a vacation frame of mind, we've got Saint X, which is coming out in February. A family has gone on their holiday vacation over the Christmas holidays, and they've gone to an island in the Caribbean, and everyone's having a great time. Their one daughter is a teenager, the other one is younger, and the one that's a teenager keeps going out at night, partying with everybody on the island, partying with other kids that are staying at the hotel, until one night she doesn't come home. What happened to her? Where is she? Where has she gone? What is happening? And it reaches a not wonderful conclusion about what happened to her when her body is found. But flash forward, years later, the younger sister is in a taxi cab in New York, looks up at the driver's picture and realizes it's one of the two men that were accused of the murder of her sister. So what's her feeling, and what is going to be this twist and turn that's going to take on her life right now? It's a completely alive kind of book because you're taking place in two different time periods. You're talking when this girl was very, very young. Later on, what does she share with her parents? What doesn't she? Because they now are moving on with their lives in a different place, though they're also stuck on the day that their daughter died. So really, really interesting. Lots of conversation about this book that's going to be happening. I also love this cover. Next is probably one of the most talked about books of the year for 2020. It hasn't even come out yet. It's American Dirt by Jeanine Cummins. I know we sponsored a contest on the site where 10 groups of 10 are reading this book and are going to be commenting about it for us by the end of February. This book is a story of immigration. It's a story about crossing the border and bringing a young child up into the United States from Mexico. The woman that's running with her child is being chased by a cartel because her husband has revealed some things about the head of the cartel. What's kind of crazy is she actually knows the head of the cartel well. She owned a bookstore, and he used to come in to visit her and talk books. So we really got this ruthless leader who she knew in a very, very different way. So she's on the run with her child, and what they're striving to do is get onto American Dirt. It's one of the most talked about books of the year. I'm looking forward to hearing what our readers are going to be saying about it and what discussion is going to be about this book. Next, we've got from Allison Pataki, The Queen's Fortune. And it's about Desiree, Napoleon, and the dynasty. Now, this is a woman that was in love with Napoleon. Napoleon was in love with her. She ended up not becoming the queen. And what her role was in Napoleon's life at one point along the way, and what it was within that whole dynasty, if that what was happening. Allison writes really brilliantly about historical fiction. She did a book about Cece a couple of years ago that people talked about incessantly, and she's got a real natural way of telling these stories that are very complex from the past. People that we'd have no relationship of being able to figure out who they were and how they all came together, and how this woman mattered to Napoleon and her role in his life. So from Allison Pataki, we've got The Queen's Fortune. Once again, I'm going to be giving away The Good Neighborhood. I'm crazy about this. Therese and Fowler, the same one we're giving away for the audio. What we've got is two families that share a property line. They're very different families. One is kind of nouveau riche. The other one is a family that's raising a mixed race family raising a child. And these two children are going to reach out and fall in love. And at the same time, these families are in deep conflict with each other. Their morals, their values, where they're seeing their lives headed, and it actually sends up their worlds into a tailspin and then to a very, very sharp crescendo. So highly recommend this book. A lot about family drama, family history, families coming together and then falling apart. And next, we've got Long Bright River by Liz Moore. This is a story about the opioid crisis in the country. It's a book something that we haven't talked about a lot in fiction, and we talk about in books of really what the impact is on this on a family. What we've got is a young woman here who is a police officer. She's on the beat all the time, and what is she out there looking for is people who are on the street that are strung out, that are perhaps need a dose of Narcan to stay alive, people who are prostituting themselves on the street, just trying to get money to go out and get another fix. And one of the people that she's out looking for when she's on the street is her sister Casey. Casey has been an addict for years. She's tried to get clean. She's tried to stay straight, and she can't. So when Mickey's driving around at night, she's looking for Casey on the street and trying to figure out where she is. And then one day Casey disappears, and then she becomes the cop who's looking for her sister and looking for her in all the hidden places. It's a beautifully done story. It's a thriller. It's going to be, totally capturing your heart, as well as trying to figure out what is actually happening within the story. And Long Bright River actually talks about that moment where someone shoots himself up with heroin, and the line that is drawn as a result of the injection of the heroin, the blood flowing through. So extremely well done. Every single one of the books that I talked about, these 6 books that you could win as prizes, are bets on selections. I am telling you right now that 2020, the reading I've done, it's going to be a fantastic year for readers. So looking forward to seeing you and sharing much more about the books in the years to come. Over the holidays, if you're out with readers or friends that are readers, talk up about readinggroupguides.com. If they're in a book club or if they want to start a book club, send them our way so they can actually be finding books that we think that are really chat-worthy and books that are discussion-worthy as well. Thanks so much for everyone. I wish you a wonderful holiday season and all the very best for the new year.